So this was a tough week. On Monday, we did have the opportunity to meet with Dr. Tajani, our oncologist, and review the results of our CT scan. As we feared, we did see growth and new growth and enlargement of the spots that were in my liver or that are in my liver. And so that's not something that we wanted to see, which means that the chemo drugs that we're currently taking are no longer effective at fighting the cancer. We were fortunate that as of the scan, the CT scan, the tumors have not spread outside of the primary locations, so my gastric in the stomach and in the liver, but we are seeing the increased activity in the liver through growth and through enlargement of the tumors that are there. So that meant that while this was supposed to be a chemo week, we had to cancel the chemo because the chemo is not impacting the cancer. So we started to talk about what our options are. We've been battling this for 2 years now, almost 2 years. August will be 2 years. And we're starting to run out of drugs and options. There is a phase 3 clinical trial with the drug company Merck. It is specific to my type of cancer, so gastric adenocarcinoma. And it targets a specific marker that is found in my cancer. However, to get into that study, my platelet counts need to be above 100. And I don't remember if I have ever had platelet counts above 100 since starting chemotherapy. So we have a couple options. One is to see if my platelet counts will come up naturally now that we're no longer doing chemotherapy. And the second would be to receive an injection that would help to increase my platelet counts. The good news is I only need my platelet counts to be above 100 to be considered and be eligible for the clinical study. I don't need it to maintain that. And so we have stopped the chemotherapy and we're going to get the injection this coming Tuesday. However, after the injection, I have to wait 3 weeks before we can do the blood test to see where my platelets are at. So effectively, we're going a month without chemo, which makes me nervous because we've seen from the pre-op to the surgery that there was significant growth in just those 3 weeks, enough so that they canceled the histotripsy. And so I am concerned about if we're going to see growth in this time period when I'm not receiving any type of treatment at all. So I hope that we can get into this study. If we do get into the study, the challenge then becomes it's phase 3, so it's getting ready for FDA approval. And once you're in, then you become part of one or another group. I'll know which group I'm in. One will receive the normal chemotherapy that I would receive if I wasn't even being considered for this clinical study. But I can't start that because it would make me ineligible for the study. So I need to wait to start that. The second would be that I would receive that chemotherapy plus the marker drug specific to my tumors or to my cancer. So our hope is that 1, we can get our platelet counts up above 100, and that 2, I can get into the study, and that 3, once I'm into the study, that I am randomly selected to be part of the group that gets the targeted drug to fight the cancer. The challenge becomes that, as I mentioned earlier, we're starting to run out of options in terms of drugs. So once I finish this next round of chemotherapy, there's basically one more drug unless we can find another clinical study or something. It's an oral drug and it is much less effective than anything else that I've been on. Could potentially go back and try the FOLFOX again, which was the first one that I was on. But it's definitely getting tougher to fight this cancer and particularly the cancer that's in my liver. So it was a tough conversation with the family. It was the first time that we talked, or that Dr. Tajani talked about palliative care, which is comfort care. So some treatment, but really palliative care is about keeping you comfortable. And what follows palliative care is hospice. And so it's scary again. And it made for a very tough week. On top of that, there was a lot going on at work this week. And so from an emotional standpoint, it was just very challenging for me. So tough week, emotionally, not the easiest to get through, having tough conversations with our oncologist, tough conversations with our daughters, and understanding that we may be running out of choices and options, and trying to understand what that means and understand how we would live with that. Another tough week to find a moment of gratitude. But for this week, I am grateful for Jasmine. Jasmine is, I don't know if she's a social worker or a counselor with Advent Health, but she runs a cancer support group. And on Tuesday of this week happened to be the monthly meeting. And so had the opportunity to join in that meeting and kind of share where we were at and get support. And so I'm grateful that she runs these meetings. She was the one who also turned me on to Real Recovery, which is the fly fishing thing that I had mentioned that I'll be doing in June. And at the end, she challenged me, well, what are you going to do over the next couple of weeks? And I had to think about it. But what I realized is when things get emotionally heavy, I tend to turn inward, and I tend to just sit and not do a whole lot. And so I decided that I would start moving again. And so each day I just walk around the cul-de-sac and pick up the mail. It's probably in your good health, it's a 5-minute walk, maybe 10. In my health, it's a little bit longer. I don't move real fast, but I was moving, and it did seem to help my appetite. So I'm grateful for support groups and the folks like Jasmine who run those groups. I also am part of a Stand Up to Cancer group online that's just for men, and I appreciate the camaraderie of that group as well. My name is Craig. I'm with One Man's Cancer Journey, and I wish for you a blessed week.